Recording in progress
right now by my good friend David Kinder on like about 382 different social media platforms. So it's hard telling how many attendees we have. I know how many people have actually used their log on, and that's a lot. So that plus the streaming, we have a great audience today. Absolutely thrilled to have all of you on the call, on the video conference today. I do things a little differently. Usually I don't use PowerPoints. It's just me talking a lot of times, as well as what I call the power of the pen, using my little whiteboard, as in the same way that a lot of you financial professionals do it. I believe in communicating with you how you're going to communicate with consumers. Well, because we are talking about a Social Security seminar that, yes, you will certainly learn from. This is also the exact seminar that I talk about in the seminar system that, as my email said a couple of weeks ago, that I sent out to my agents, those appointed with CG Financial Group. I had an $8,000 expenditure over the last year's period of time, which is really nothing in the whole scheme of things compared to other seminar systems. And that seminar alone generated about $90,000 in commission. Now, anytime I am getting a, what is that? Is that a 900% internal rate of return, 1,000% internal rate of return? That's pretty darn good. And folks, that is Social Security. I'm telling you, I threw this video out there earlier on social media as well as my agents. I tell the story of my wife. I was in the doctor. I tell the doctor, hey, my wife, I think she has a hearing issue here. She's got problems. Doctor says, what do you mean she's got problems? I said, I think she's going deaf very, very fast. Can you help me out? The doctor says, well, yeah, here's what you do, Charlie. I'll save you money on the audiology exam. What you do is you go home, you go across the room when she's not looking at you, and you say something. If she doesn't hear you, you get a little closer and you say something again. If she doesn't hear you, get a little closer, you say something again. Eventually, you will be able to gauge how her hearing is. So I did exactly that. I went home. She was chopping away at something on the counter, chopping away at dinner, her back to me. So I went across the room and I said, hey, honey, what's for dinner? Nothing. I got a little closer, said, hey, honey, what's for dinner? Nothing again. Got a little closer. Honey, what's for dinner? Finally, I'm right up behind her and I said, Noelle, what is for dinner? And she said, damn it, Charlie, for the fourth time, I told you we are having steak. Whose hearing issue was it? It was my hearing issue, right? Now, I use that analogy because we live inside the jar a lot of times. I know I do a lot of times. I don't know many times exactly what it is that consumers want because I live inside the jar. All of this stuff is great. I cannot read the label on the outside of the jar because I sleep, eat, and breathe financial services, right? I will tell you, though, when it comes to what interests clients, which sometimes we all tend to think, man, I can talk about annuities and consumers will show up to a seminar. I can talk about planning and they'll show up to a seminar. I'm telling you, I've wasted a lot of money, and there are, I would say, 4 different categories, 4 primary categories that consumers truly will get up, drive across town to hear a stranger talk about. Number 1 is Social Security. Number 2 is Medicare. Number 3 is long-term care planning. And number 4 is a lot of things having to do with tax reduction and tax minimization. I've done stuff like economic updates, a bunch of other technical financial planning stuff. They don't show up. Social Security is where it's at. Because why? Because almost all of the 330 million Americans are going to be on it. And I don't know where you come from, but if the present value of $1 million, present value of that future stream of income, $1 million, for example, and that's not hyperbole. I'm going to show you some examples. Where I come from, that's real money, right? That's real money to a lot of consumers that they want to know about. So this is the client presentation that I give. And this is actually kind of a quasi mock presentation, like I'm talking to consumers. But I'll go back and forth with you fine folks. By the way, folks, is our AV coming through okay? So down in the Q&A pane, tell me if you can see me. Tell me if you can hear me. Then we're going to go into housekeeping. Then we're going to run with the nitty gritty of it. Can you see me? Can you hear me? So in the Q&A pane down there, tell me you can see me. Tell me you can hear me. All right. We have David. We have, yeah, we're all good, Greg. We're all good. That doesn't always happen. However, I think if I've done 100 webinars over the last 2 years, I think maybe only 1 or 2 have had AV issues. So I've been fortunate so far. So housekeeping number 1, ask questions as we go, as I do with the client seminars, client webinars. What I will do is I will ask you questions. By the way, I have a question. This is the first poll question. The first poll question is, for widows and widowers, what is the earliest that you can take survivor benefits? What is the earliest for widows and widowers that you can take as survivor benefits? Meaning his or her that unfortunately passed away, the benefit based off of what he or her were getting or will get. What is the earliest that you can take that? First poll question. A couple are wrong, a lot are wrong actually, and a couple are right. Age 60. Age 60. The earliest you can take your own benefit is age 62. The earliest you can take survivor benefits is age 60. So our poll question is working here. I'm going to continue those throughout the presentation here. So ask questions as we go. Number 2 is for the agents. We have 2 different groups on the phone here today, which is a little different. Talking to 2 different groups, those that don't work with CG Financial Group currently and those that do. Those that do, I just want to give you a reminder, go out and register for the agent portal that is coming at the beginning of 2023, late December, early January. It's going to be kicked off 2023. This is the agent portal. This is training on Social Security, more than an hour long of Social Security, I assure you. It is sales ideas training on annuities. It is nuts and bolts of annuities. It is like 200 different blog posts and videos that I have out there on annuities, life insurance, long-term care, practice management, technology, financial planning software. Go out and register if you're appointed with CG Financial Group, because we need you up and live by the time, well, we go live early January. Just kind of a news flash here. AIG and Lincoln are killing it. AIG currently has a cap of 11.5%. So this is kind of my weekly news flash here. And some of you have gotten several emails from me on this. AIG has an 11% cap on their indexed annuity. What does that mean? It means, Mrs. Client, you put in 100 grand. This year, if the market goes down 50%, you get a 0 on your statement, 0 return, but you haven't lost a penny. The next year, the market goes up 12%. And I'm talking about the S&P 500. I'm not talking about some low volatility, some volatility control strategy. I'm talking about the S&P 500, 11.5% cap. The next year, the market goes up 12%, you get 11.5%. No fees, just the cap of 11.5%. Lincoln, performance trigger. So they have over a 9% performance trigger, which means the market goes down, you get a 0. The market is flat or up, anything. It's up 1%, let's say. The client gets over 9%, depending on the product. They have various products, but the performance trigger says if the market is flat or up, the client gets let's call it 9%, right? Again, various products there. And what percentage has the market been up over the last 100 years or so? Around 73%. So just a note there, AIG and Lincoln are killing it. You have recordings, and if you don't have the recordings, if you're one of those not with CG Financial Group, send me an email, I'll send them to you. These recordings have to do with the seminar system. These two recordings, one was from 2 weeks ago, one was from last week. They straddle chronologically this presentation here. What do I mean by that? I mean an introduction to the seminar system. I mean, the last one was, what do you do with the consumers when it comes to the actual Social Security plan, retirement income plan? And this one here today is the actual presentation. In hindsight, I should have done it more chronologically correct, but between this presentation and the two that I did, you have before the seminar, during the seminar, and after the seminar. So you see a system here, right? And lastly, next week's seminar is my most popular webinar. You can go out to my site and register for it. You'll see it under financial professionals, then financial professional events. And it is the heaviest attended seminars or webinars that I do. It is quite simply my favorite: annuities, life, and long-term care. Because it kind of ebbs and flows as interest rates increase and as time goes by. Some carriers decided they want to be players. Some carriers decided they maybe don't want to be players. Who are players as of next week? That's what I'm going to talk about. So Greg, my friend, I wanted to bring you on because if somebody on the phone is not convinced that Social Security seminars, that the system that we have for forget the system that we have, Social Security in general, if they're not convinced that these seminars work, I thought it would be good because you attended a seminar that I conducted a couple weeks ago, right, in Ames. You got to witness that. But then in addition to that, you and I have had a couple conference calls kind of on the back end of all of this stuff where I go over the retirement income plan. I thought it would be good for you to kind of share your experience. By the way, folks, we did not go through what his commentary was going to be and all that stuff, a script for this call. So kind of, I don't know what Greg's going to say. So Greg, we're curious. Please let us know. And if you're on mute, just remember to unmute yourself.
Sure. If you can hear me, okay. I don't know about you, but I was very skeptical at first. You know, Charlie kind of brought this plan up for us, 8-9 months ago, and he kind of field tested it and honed it down. And I think it's at a great position right now. So myself, when I attended the seminar, I asked myself 3 very important questions. Does the marketing work? Do the people really show up? And will attendees set appointments? And my answer to all 3 of those questions is yes, yes, and yes. The marketing program filled up the room at a hotel that was in Ames, Iowa. And I think we had 22, 23 people show up for the seminar, which was really good for a weekday. And the really thing that impressed me was the people, both in their evaluation sheets and signing up for appointments. I think 8 or 9 people on the spot signed up for an appointment, which was, to me, is just really impressive. And the fact that the system that he lays out for them is something they want to get into, dig into, and do a little deeper dive. I thought it was really neat that he had a question and it gave out a gift card for right answers, which really kept people fully engaged. There were a lot of people asking a lot of questions. He kept it humorous, so it wasn't all serious. And I thought the people, we always had that one person that's smarter than the instructor, and we had one of those 2 in the room. So that was kind of neat as well too, that he probably could have gave the class. What I also found too is that in just sitting in the back of the room and reviewing the seminar, the screenshots that Charlie uses on his presentation demonstrate the need to get your Social Security right. It's really powerful in the fact that you can lose or you can gain thousands of dollars just by deferring Social Security and deferring when you turn on your income for your retirement. The neat part about this is I've done 2 of these Zoom calls with Charlie. He mentioned that at the beginning here about just, if nothing else, maybe you're not ready for a Social Security seminar, but take advantage of his Social Security program. It's unique, it's powerful, and it lays out exactly what their options are. and I won't go into great detail with it, but the recent two cases, and one was for a lady that was retiring that had 80,000 in a Fidelity account. We got her to roll the whole thing out. It was in a brokerage account, and she didn't feel comfortable with. And recently, I got a referral to a lady, a nurse, 62, that was retiring, that had 544,000 in her Wells Fargo brokerage account. Now, I don't know about you, but those types of numbers really get your attention. And it was really nice to see in reviewing her statement that one of the things I realized was, in looking at that statement, on $544,000, she was only going to generate a guaranteed, which we have both know and all know that it's not guaranteed, but $13,551 of annualized income.
And Greg, that's not the number you came up with. That is literally on her Wells Fargo statement, the estimated income, right?
Exactly. And when you get a client's attention and you work down to the bottom of that statement and you just do the math crunch on that, her withdrawal rate is only 2.49%. I don't know about you, but not too many of my clients can live on 2.49% withdrawal rate off their retirement account, which, at $13,551, and you throw in, I think hers was $1,000 of Social Security, she was only looking at $25,000 annualized income at retirement. And by just taking out a portion of that account, which was $400,000, we were able to generate for her $37,000 at age 62, $39,000 at age 65, or if she defers out to 69, about $41,000 in income. So when you're doing the math, it makes it really simple to, at the end of your presentation, to go to the client and ask them, do you want to leave things the way they are? Or would you be happy with a higher annualized or income check? So I thought that was
we plugged her into our software, didn't we? Me via Zoom, you there in person, plugged her into the software. So between the annuities versus her portfolio plus Social Security optimization, the projection was like an additional $970,000 over her lifetime or something like that. So needless to say, she was a good logical person. She liked the math simplified down. You got to know how to simplify it, which that's, something that I continue to educate on. And yeah, how much did you end up selling, Greg?
Well, we picked up, beginning of this week, we rolled out the 544,000 in cash so that we're going to tap into 400,000 of that. But I imagine that all of you are doing the math with me. She's got an additional $150,000 that we have to play around with for Roth conversions, life insurance, long-term care, MIGAs. So we haven't left a lot on the table, but there's a lot of additional sales, I think, there, which is going to generate additional income. So, I think it really comes down to a couple key points. One is in doing your fact finder, that you have a good fact finder, which puts all the information on the table. And then I really liked his presentation, the fact that he's got real life, actual case studies at the end of his presentations, which is really in real time and real life. The other thing is that when you get that Social Security statement, you're going to know what Social Security is going to guarantee and promise. So in doing the Social Security Zoom call with Charlie, it gives you basically a total snapshot of all their retirement plan. And I think it lines you up for also additional sales, long-term care, life, MIGAs. And I don't know about you, but I'm really looking forward to my first seminar in January of 2023 here and really seeing where this goes. When you crunch the numbers and you look at the annual revenue that this system can generate for you, if I did one simple case for $28,000 in 1 month, if I did this over 12 months, that's $336,000 in first year commission. I don't know what system you're currently utilizing right now, but even if you did half of that and you came in somewhere between 150 or 180,000 in first year commissions, this is a really good program to take a serious look at, kick the tires on, and I think implement it into your practice.
And that's above and beyond what you're already making, above and beyond what the advisors are already making that are on the phone. So, and Greg, I didn't take 1% of a split on that either, did I? It's a part of being an IMO that who I think I'm fairly qualified. I'm an old guy. I've been around for a while. Yes, I'm a CFP and all that other fun stuff, securities license. But that person and the owner of my company partnering with you, I have found that the agents that like doing business with CG Financial Group, they appreciate, nothing against younger folks, but they appreciate not talking to the 20-year-old at the IMO that somebody hired, that started the company, hired to answer the phones. Not that I'm so smart. I'm just an old guy, been there, done that. And we've been able to close some sales as a result of that. Greg, really appreciate your time. I'm sure the audience is like, let's get to the nitty gritty here. Really appreciate, Greg, and appreciate your partnership as well.
Thanks.
All right, guys and gals, let's get started here. As we go, ask questions. This is a client presentation right here. Here is how I start every client presentation on Social Security. I say, isn't it ironic? Isn't it ironic, folks, that for many of you, this thing called Social Security, that is the largest asset in your portfolios, technically not in your portfolios, but you get what I'm saying, the largest asset, a seven-figure asset in some cases. Isn't it ironic that it is the most complicated asset that you have, while at the same time, you are effectively left to fend by yourself when it comes to making the optimal Social Security decision? And I'll ask this question a lot. How many of you have gone to the Social Security Administration office in your area and asked them for advice on how to maximize your Social Security? Then I'll say, what was the result of that conversation? How was the quality of the feedback that you were given? It's mixed reviews a lot of times. Some folks will say, oh, they helped me file, no problem. I'm not talking about helping you file. I'm not talking about the logistics. I'm talking about helping you from a strategic standpoint, optimize how much you will get over your life from the Social Security system. They are instructed in their employee handbook with the Social Security Administration that they cannot give you advice on Social Security filing strategies. The employees are specifically prohibited, so to speak, from giving you that information. You are alone. Isn't it ironic? Social Security, the largest in your portfolios, while at the same time, the most complicated, while at the same time, you're left alone. And by the way, folks, financial advisors, agents, and I'll tell you this because this is what I tell the consumers, and I bet you agree with me. If you had 10 of me in a room, a financial advisor, I would argue that at least 8 of those financial advisors, insurance agents, do not know Social Security a whole heck of a lot more than the average person on the street, not in financial services, right? Folks, this is why I am doing this seminar, guys and gals. This is why I'm doing this seminar, because there's an opportunity there to help you optimize your Social Security. And by the way, if there's only one thing that you leave here with today, in addition to a ton of knowledge on Social Security, it should be this. Social Security is about so much more than just Social Security. I don't care how big your Social Security check is. I don't care. What I do care about is how big your net Social Security check is. What determines your net Social Security check? Well, what do you have coming in from this asset in retirement? What do you have coming in from this asset in retirement? What do you have coming in from this asset in retirement? What am I referring to? Folks, how much can your Social Security benefit be taxed? How much of that Social Security benefit, once you retire, how much of it, what is the maximum amount that your Social Security benefit can be taxed? Tell me now, because this is what I ask the consumers. What is the maximum amount that your Social Security benefit can be taxed? Have a couple 50%? Nope, that's not correct. What's the maximum amount your Social Security benefit can be taxed? Let's say you have traditional IRA money coming in, for example. We have teachers in the room here. What about 403Bs? You have a ton of this stuff coming in. What is the maximum that your Social Security benefit can be taxed, or the amount that is subject to tax? That's right, 85%. A lot of folks don't realize that. They get you on the front end, and sometimes they can get you on the back end, right? This disclaimer here actually has some true meaning to it. And here's what this disclaimer says as we get into the nitty gritty here, that you can have two different people and their optimal retirement or social security strategies could be completely different. You could have two Charlies here. Both of them have made the exact same amount of money over their careers, the exact same age, the exact same primary insurance amount, social security amount at full retirement. But these two could have completely different optimal social security strategies that optimize their social security. Why is that? Because maybe this Charlie over here has 401k and traditional IRA money coming in, for example, maybe pension money coming in. What does that mean? It means his taxation could be significant versus this Charlie that has Roth IRA money coming in, maybe cash value life insurance, right? This disclosure says that when you walk away from this, you should understand that it is specific to each and every one of your situations. And therefore, I'm going to talk a little bit in the end here about your retirement income plan, your social security plan. But just know that, are you going to gain a lot of knowledge throughout this presentation? Absolutely. Are you going to walk away from this presentation and say, I now know exactly what I need to do? Probably not. That's where your own retirement income plan really comes into play. So folks, here's what we're going to talk about, a little bit about me. If you're like me, you tend to think that the credibility of the presentation depends on the credibility of the person. Tell you a little bit about me. And agents on the call, I'm not going to go into me a whole lot, but that's a part of the agenda, should be a part of the agenda. Why? Because if that's a part of your agenda, then that's the part where you build credibility. If you're not credible, then I can't really help you there. But if you are, you should tell them a little bit about you. History of retirement income in America. We're going to get into the nitty gritty, FIAs, PIAs, DRCs, as in full retirement amounts, primary insurance amounts, delayed retirement credits. I put the acronyms in there on purpose because that is what it is like to read this stuff on the Social Security Administration website. Do you file early? Do you file on time? Do you file late? What about Social Security taxation? Again, I don't care about how much your Social Security check is. I care about your net Social Security. Earnings test. Hey, I'm 62 years old. I want to file early and I want to continue to work. What happens there? And then the best part of the whole thing, a lot of folks tell me, is the case study example. Excuse me. Good question. Good question. So we have a question here. Are you talking tax rate or the amount of their Social Security taxed? The amount of Social Security subject to taxation is what I was referring to. So I'm not saying that they're going to be taxed at an 85% tax rate, but I am saying that 85% of their Social Security can be subject to taxation at whatever their tax rate is. So, this is the part where I'll go into a little bit about me, my credentials, all that good stuff. And that is that. I spend maybe 2 minutes on this, and I maybe tell a couple of dumb jokes about my dogs and family. And immediately I've kind of loosened up the audience there. And they already feel like, they're comfortable around me. So history of retirement income in America. Here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the shift from having guaranteed lifetime income effectively that supports you once you outlive your ability to work to where we are today. And thus the importance of, think of this, Social Security. It is government backed. It is inflation adjusted, kind of, which I'll get into here in a bit. It is for the life of you and your spouse. It's good, right? So I want to talk about the power of this in the world that we have shifted to. So much beneath the surface. This is like a glacier. And I'm going to give you a case study on me, for example. They say the glacier is like 90% below the surface, 10% above. There is so much more than meets the eye with Social Security. For instance, here's the example I give a lot. My dad died at age 62. His dad died, it was like late 60s. My uncle on my dad's side, still in his 60s, right? My mom's side of the family, kind of similar deals there. So with my longevity, I probably shouldn't even buy unripened bananas anymore, right? I'm not going to live long enough to see those puppies ripen so I can actually eat them. That's a bad investment. in all seriousness, I'll probably live a while. I try to take care of myself here. But with that being said, you folks that are the Social Security strategists, you tell me, with the information that I just gave you, when should I file for my Social Security retirement benefit? When should I file for my Social Security retirement benefit with the information that I had just given? Let's see the answers come in here. Pretty much everybody is saying early, age 62, age 62. That's the part of the glacier that's above the water. Here's what I'm actually doing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to file at age 70. Why is that? This is a beneath the surface. That is Social Security. Everything is beneath the surface, because here's my family dynamic. My family dynamic is when me and my wife graduated from college, she basically stayed home from with the kids. I was the one traveling the country, you know, as an executive of various insurance companies, traveling the country, doing the speaking thing, all that stuff. I made decent money. How much money did she make? Pretty much nothing. Now, who had the harder job of the two of us, folks? Who had the harder job of the two of us? She had the harder job of the two of us. So, okay, so her retirement amount is going to be this. My retirement amount is going to be this. Or if I delay until age 70, or if I take it early. Well, question for you, when I die, should I die at like age 67, for instance, what is it that my wife inherits? What does my wife inherit when I pass away at age 67, for instance? That's right. She inherits my benefit because it will be the greater of the two at that point in time. She would get the survivor benefit based off what I was getting. And my wife's going to live forever. So if you do the analysis, you find that by me delaying benefits until age 70 for the greater good of the entire family, not just me, for the greater good of the entire family, that age 70 benefit that I will get, that she will then inherit, comes out over her lifetime much, much, much better than my age 62 benefit. That's just a small microcosm of beneath the surface versus above the surface, right? So the year was 1935. Let's talk a little bit about the history of retirement income. In the year 1935, the US government came out and said, you know, we got a problem. And the problem is we are now outliving our ability to work. We are now outliving our ability to work. No longer do people die on the job. No longer do they just, boom, drop over dead, right? So now there's this new notion of retirement. And therefore, what we, the government, want to do is this. Here's the deal. We will, once you hit retirement age, we will pay you to go off into the sunset. We will pay you forever, for the rest of your life, once you hit retirement age, kind of assuming that you can no longer work, because again, people are outliving their ability to work. By the way, here's a question. When this system was created, which this system that I'm referring to is what? This is Social Security, right? 1935. What was that retirement age that a person had to hit in 1935 in order to get full Social Security benefits? What was that age? 65, age 65. Well, here's another question. Some of you, I know your wheels are turning. The other question is, okay, what was the life expectancy of a person in 1935? The life expectancy of a person in 1935 was 62 years of age. On average, you would not ever get a benefit out of it, right? Now, I'm no actuary, but I'll tell you that was actuarially flawless, right? If on average, everybody's going to die, well, if on average you're going to die before you get the benefit, that was very, very sustainable, right? And then came the 1940s, and the 1940s pension plans, defined benefit pension plans proliferated. Why is that? Because of wage caps. If I want to poach David Kinder, for example, from his current employer, David, I know you're listening. So if I want to poach David Kinder from his current employer, I can no longer pay him more to bring him over because of wage caps, because the government did not want inflation to continue to run rampant. So me, the employer, I got creative. And what did I do? I said, David, I can no longer pay you additional money, but here's what I will do. You come with my company. You put 20, 25 years on the clock. Once you check out, I will pay you for the rest of your life. That's a good benefit. That's a defined benefit pension plan. So think of that. 1940s was a good time to be retired. 1950s, 1960s was a good time to be retired. But then things started to change. Social Security. Social Security is not going to go away, by the way, folks. People say, well, do I even need to listen to this presentation? Because Social Security is not going to be around. Yes, it will be around. Now, it may take a different form, but Social Security will be around. Why is that? Because there will always be people putting into the Social Security system, even if the Social Security system is quote unquote bankrupt, which it's scheduled to be in 2034. The actuaries estimate that in 2034, in order to true everything up, what that means is, because there are still people putting in, that you would just get 76% of the benefit that you were promised. Now, that's no consolation, but what I am saying is, for the folks that say, I'm not going to attend your seminar because Social Security is not going to be around. No, it is going to be around. And by the way, that adjustment, my planning software, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, has the ability to optimize your retirement benefit, even if that adjustment were to happen in the year 2034. So in 1999, these defined benefit pension plans had grown to where like 60% of Fortune 500 companies had defined benefit pension plans. 2019, however, just 20 years later, and now it's even less, 14%, less than 14% of Fortune 500 companies have that benefit, like Social Security, to pay you forever and ever. I call this the wonders of the world. There are really only three primary forms of the financial wonders of the world, so to speak. This is what I'm using for advisors. I don't use that language with consumers, but these primary forms are, number one, Social Security, guaranteed lifetime income, inflation adjusted, government backed, right? The second one is pension plans, as we just talked about. And the third one, folks, if you are not aware of annuities, you should look to annuities. As my guy Greg just said, if a portfolio is generating, say, a 2.5% withdrawal rate, or if that is how much $1 million portfolio, take $25,000 a year out, really? You're a millionaire and you're taking $25,000 a year is all? You put that into an annuity and what happens? You can take out $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year, right? It's a completely different deal. Well, how is that possible, Charlie? Seems too good to be true. It's not too good to be true. 300 years ago, when it came to life insurance, I'm sure a lot of people said, so you mean to tell me that I pay a premium in life insurance, this thing called life insurance, I get hit by a bus tomorrow and miraculously somebody's going to pay my heirs $50,000? Seems too good to be true. No, it's not. Annuities are the inverse of what we just talked about with life insurance. But the point here is these sources of guaranteed income are not as large of a proportion today of consumers' retirement income than what they once were, which means relatively consumers are kind of fending for themselves. My friend Tom Hagna says, here's a calculus once you hit your retirement years. The calculus is very difficult, right? In your pre-retirement years, if you, assuming you have money, a monkey can plan correctly for you, right? Oh, you put it into a stock and bond fund, 10% per year on average or so. You hit age 65, you're going to have $1 million or whatever. A monkey can do the accumulation years simply, but what about the decumulation years? What about the retirement years? Here's the calculus: is you want to enjoy your $1 million that you've created, right? But you don't want to over enjoy that. And I'll smile at the audience. You don't want to over enjoy that, right? What do I mean by this, folks? Well, you guys tell me, what do I mean by over enjoying their retirement? What do I mean when I say that they want to enjoy their retirement, but not over enjoy their retirement? What is that catastrophic thing that I am referring to? running out of money, running out of money. Because here's usually what happens. Because that fear of running out of money, consumers, they'll save, 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 save in the pre-retirement years. They'll have this dream of buying the boat, buying the yacht, buying the lake house, buying the country club membership, rubbing elbows with the big dogs in the community, right? They retire, but because they have that fear of the gas tank running empty, of spending too much, of over enjoying their retirement, what happens? They pinch their pennies. They don't live the retirement that they wish they had. They don't have permission to spend. They pass away with a huge chunk of money that goes to their kids. And what do their kids do with that money? They buy the yacht. They buy the lake home. They buy the country club membership. They go rub elbows with the big dogs, right? What these three things here in front of you do is they allow you to enjoy your retirement years. They give you permission to spend. And this, folks, is why Social Security is so important. Again, $1 million, let's say, let's be conservative and say $500,000. Where I come from, that is real money. That is why Social Security is the foundation for many folks' retirement plan. And it's also important, as I discussed earlier, that you coordinate your Social Security income with the other assets in your portfolio, right? Folks come to me and they ask for a Social Security optimization plan. I need to know everything. Why? Because this Charlie over here that has IRA money coming in is going to have a completely different strategy than this Charlie over here that doesn't have any pre-tax money coming in, which does not jack up how much they have to pay in Social Security taxes, right? Social Security is a foundation, one, but number two, what's most important of all of this stuff is coordination. Not the default strategy. The default strategy for a lot of retirees is this: I'm going to retire, and that is exactly the date. Aren't I required to file for Social Security when I retire? No, you're not. You need to view those separately. But what happens is they retire here, they file for Social Security here, and then they say, well, Social Security has only given me this much, but I need this much to live off of. So they throw a dart at the board and they say, well, that extra, yeah, that income from the traditional IRA, that's going to supplement my Social Security income, and I'm good to go. That layering strategy, that's not good coordination many times. Many times, the strategy of not layering, but rather segmenting, file for Social Security late, fill that gap in the meantime with maybe IRA money, for example. Many times the data, the algorithm, the financial planning software will tell you that over your lifetime, that second strategy of segmenting is better than the layering. Because what are you doing when you layer it? You're mixing in Social Security income with other taxable income, which drives up your provisional income, which means your Social Security will be taxed. By doing Social Security here and then the pre-tax money here, what you're doing is you're separating those two out, at least relative. You're separating those two out. So let's get into nitty gritty here, folks. Any questions so far as we get into full retirement age, delayed retirement credits, the logistics of filing for Social Security? Any questions yet? Are you guys liking the flow? And I've done this about 30 times. Yeah, about 30 times with consumers over the last 2 years. I'll tell you, it's a 75-minute presentation, which we're going to be done here at 12:15, so I'm going to shorten it a little bit. But it is a 75-minute presentation. I did this on a webinar a couple weeks ago. How many people hung up between point 1 or minute 1 and minute 75? Like one person out of 18 that were on the webinar actually hung up. They actually all stayed engaged, like how I'm engaging with you fine folks. Good flow. Ms. Smith says yes. Cool. Any questions, feel free to punch them in there. All right. So there are three primary groups of folks: those that were born 1954 and before, those that were born in this funky area in 1955 to 1959, and those born 1960 plus. Now, for everybody other than that funky area that I'm talking about, it's funky because you'll see here, your full retirement age is either 66 or 67. So for me, for instance, my full retirement age is, here's a question, folks. How old do you think I am? What year do you think I was born? I've never asked this before. What year do you think I was born? I'm curious. Oh, Charlie, your full retirement age has got to be like 66 or something like that. What year? Whoever guesses this correctly will actually win something. I don't know what that will be. And what year was I born? This has actually turned into a real question. David, you already knew the answer to that. What's this 1960s crap? I wasn't born anywhere close to 1960s. I think Jason won. 1977. That's the answer to the question. 1977. So my full retirement age is 67. Now, why is this relevant? We're going to talk about why this is relevant through a bit of a case study here. Let's say that 1960s, I'm a little upset about that. Actually, nobody said 1990 or anything like that. Jim was born, let's say in 1956. Jim was born January 3rd, 1956. So if he was born January 3rd, 1956, let me ask you this. When is Jim's 66th birthday? This is math. When is Jim's 66th birthday? Tell me the year that he turns 66. When does Jim turn age 66? That's right, 2022. All right, so March 3rd, 2022 is when he turns age 66. And folks, what I want to do here for the consumers that are usually in this seminar is I want to talk about tactics, how you go about, when you go about filing for your Social Security benefits, right? So 66, question, folks, is he at full retirement age on March 3rd? Did I say January 3rd? I meant March 3rd, 2022. Is he at full retirement age? Folks, is he at full retirement age? Our guy that was born in 1956, is he at full retirement age on his 66th birthday? That's correct. No, he's not, right? Why is that? Because remember, his full retirement age is 66 and 4 months. So we have to go ahead 4 months. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is his full retirement age right there. Okay, so Jim wants his check at full retirement age. What happens? Does he just go out to the mailbox and his check is there? No. What happens is within a 4-month period of time prior to when he wants to elect Social Security. So 4 months prior to this would be, well, his birthday in this case, right? It'd be March 3rd. Within that 4-month window, the Social Security Administration says, yes, we can hear from you then, but we don't want to hear from you prior to that 4-month window, right? People are like, oh, I thought it was a 3-month window. Medicare is 3 months before the initial enrollment period, right? It's 3 months before, it's the month of your birthday, and then it's 3 months after. And then we get into a bit of a conversation around Medicare a lot of times in these seminars. But Social Security, it is 4 months before when he wants to file for his Social Security retirement benefits. Okay, so he did that. Let's say he did that, whatever, in March. Does that mean the check just comes? When does the check come? Well, it's not a check. It's a direct deposit. And that direct deposit comes in the following month. What day of the month? Well, it's going to be a Wednesday when that direct deposit comes. Which Wednesday? It depends on when he was born, right? So because our guy was born within the first 10 days, that means that he is going to get his Social Security deposit the second Wednesday of the following month. If he was born the second third of the month, he's going to get it the third Wednesday of the following month, and so forth. That is the logistics. Now, that was simplified though. So this is where we get into, well, what if Jim wanted to take his benefits early? What if he wanted to take his retirement benefits late? What happens? I'm going to show you that. So this is where we get into penalties for filing for his benefits early. And this is where a lot of times we'll have questions here. Actually, the case studies is where we get a lot of questions, but let's go into this. So 66 and 4 months, right? That's his full retirement age. That full retirement age is important because that's where all of these calculations start. That is the linchpin of all of this. All calculations, whether he files late or files early, starts with full retirement age, which is where he gets 100% of his benefit. That is, if he filed at full retirement age. If he filed early at age 62, for instance, there's a reduction. How much is that reduction? Technically, it's 0.5% for every month that he files early. And then after 36 months, it adjusts to 0.5%. Just think of it this way. For every month that he files early, or every year that he files early, call it around 6%, right? Call it around 6%. So roughly 0.5% per month is the penalty where he files early. So when you think about that, and again, it's a slope, not a cliff. So it's monthly. It's not like, well, so if he files 1 month early, does that mean it's 12 months early, or is it 1 month early? No, it is by month that the reductions happen there, right? So it's a slope of reductions, not a cliff of reductions. But the earliest that he could file for benefits, at least if he's not a survivor, a widow or a widower, is age 62. Now, what about delayed retirement credits? What about delaying his Social Security filing, his Social Security age of election? What percentage, folks, what percentage is the increase for every year that he files his Social Security benefit late? What is that increase? What's the percentage increase? Per year, it's 8% per year, up to age 70. People are like, oh, and 70 is the latest you can file. No, you can file at 80 if you want, 90 if you want. You just no longer get those increases past age 70, so it doesn't really make much sense. But yes, for every month, it is a 0.67% increase. And over 12 months, that comes out to 8% per year. Now, the difference between that up top and that down there is 76%. So here's a calculus. Here's a calculus, folks. And I tell this to the consumers. In a nutshell, what the calculus is this. Do I file for Social Security early and get less of a benefit for a longer period of time? Or do I file for Social Security late and get a larger benefit for a 8-year shorter period of time? Which one is best? It depends on your situation because that is overly simplified. It doesn't take into consideration taxation, the other stuff that you have coming in. But many times when people look at this, that's the calculus, whether they know it or not. That's a calculus that's going through their, oh, Charlie, where's the crossover point? Where's the crossover point? Well, I've done that, but I'll tell you, it's useless. The red line here is filing early. The blue line there is filing late. That's useless. Yes, I get what the crossover point is and all that stuff, but that doesn't take into consideration taxation and all that stuff, right? But that's a calculus that goes through a person's head many times. Why is that useless? Because you have so many other things coming into consideration. Inflation, that's something that comes into consideration, especially today, right? What is the benefit based off of? Well, here's what a Social Security statement looks like. Delaying provides bigger COLA increases in dollars. That's correct. That's correct. We're going to get into the COLA here in a little bit, cost of living adjustments. Because folks, when our guy here, let's say $1,000 a month was his full retirement benefit. By the way, if $1,000 a month was his full retirement benefit, what happens if he files at age 65, which is what, 16 months early? How much is his Social Security benefit? Some quick math here. What does this chart represent? How much is his monthly Social Security benefit if he files at age 65? Yes, not a tough problem there. $911 instead of $1,000. So that's what these percentages represent here. Now, if he takes, say, $911,000, if he files at that age, does it just stay there? No, it doesn't, because we have cost of living adjustments that happen year after year, as we'll talk about here in a bit. So here's what a statement looks like. Many of the younger folks on the phone may not, or on the webinar, may have never seen their statement. I think I was probably like 30 or so before I saw my statement, and it was back when they were mailing it to us. They don't mail it to you anymore unless you're age 60 or over. Then it comes like 3 months prior to your birthday. But you can log on to ssa.gov and check out your statement. Here's what this hypothetical statement says is, hey, your full retirement age is age 67. And at that age, you will get, this is just Wanda Worker, a hypothetical, you will get $1,500 per month. So question, folks, what is that $1,500 per month? What is that based off of? What was that calculated based off of? What were the components that went into that calculation? What determined that $1,500? What is that based off of? Let's see how much you guys know about Social Security, how they arrive at the benefit. Nobody knows this. Nobody knows it. Correct. Yes. 35 years of earnings. We have that over here. Question for you. Is it the last 35 years, or is it your top 35 years of earnings? And by the way, it's not as easy as well. They just add up all the earnings and then average it out. No, it's not that easy. Is it the top 35 years of earnings, or is it the last 35 years of earnings? Because there's a point I want to make around this question that I get all the time from consumers, and I'm going to share with you here in a bit. That's correct. Everybody is saying top. Yep, Sharice, 40 quarters of income. Yeah, so that's in order to be fully insured, so to speak. You need effectively 10 years of work history where you made over X amount per year. That is what makes it. If you work 1 year and that's it, you're not fully insured for Social Security purposes. So you have to work, yes, 40 quarters or 10 years in order to have, well, what looks like this on the screen here. So that's considered fully insured there. But it's the top 35 years, not the last 35 years. Qualifying and optimizing are two different things. Absolutely. Top 35 years. Now, why do I bring that up? Because when the Social Security Administration calculates, all right, here are the top 35 years, then we're going to plug it into this, and then they have bend points and all that other stuff. The first X amount is going to, we'll take 90% of that or so and put that into the calculation. And you have different bend points in the formula. By the way, in short, it's designed to take all of that income, top 35 years, and replace what percentage is Social Security on average designed to replace of your pre-retirement income. Important point for you, for all of you on the phone. What percentage is Social Security on average designed to replace? Boom, we have a couple of geniuses, 40%, right? So that's those bend points and all that go into the calculation and all that. Now, here is the point that I want to make on this. I get it all the time. So Charlie, if I go back to work and I have to, work at McDonald's or whatever, or Walmart or whatever, and if I don't make much money, is that going to hurt my calculation? Is that going to hurt my is that going to bring down my ultimate Social Security check? The answer is no, it's not. Now, taxation, I mean, if you're on Social Security and you're making income, then that could impact it. But what they are asking is the 35-year formula, if you throw a couple of low years in there, is that going to impact their ultimate Social Security benefit? The answer is no. Why? Because again, the top 35 are what is cherry picked, right? That's what is cherry picked. So you can really only help it in that regard. Taxation and withholding are two different things, however. Here's another question I get that you may get from your question, folks. Have you gotten this question when it comes to 2023's very large cost of living adjustment? Have you gotten this question? All right, so I'm 65. I was going to delay, but I mean, I need to file because I want that 8.7%. I'm going to rush to file this year because that's this year's, well, technically next year's cost of living adjustment. So Charlie, should I file now because I want that 8.7%? The government gave us 8.7 because that is how the cost of living adjustment, which is based off inflation, that's big because inflation is big. Has anybody ever gotten that question? Nobody's gotten the question? All right, then I just won't give you my answer to that. Unless somebody can say, I want the answer to that. I won't waste my time on it. But yeah, so when $1,000, for instance, our guy previously $1,000, he doesn't just stay at that. There's a cost of living adjustment that happens every year above and beyond that, as the CPIW index kind of goes through the future, right? That CPIW index, I kind of have, as I talk about a lot, I kind of have a beef with that CPIW because it's not fully representative of how retirees spend their money. The average worker in America buys different baskets of goods and services than somebody who's retired. The person that's retired spends their money usually on more inflation intensive items, drugs. Well, not the drugs, but you know what I'm saying there. Health, housing, maybe travel, inflation intensive items. So as a result of that, they say over the last 20 years that Social Security has actually lost like 40% of its purchasing power relative to how the real basket of goods and services of retired folks actually has acted over that period of time. But there's a cost of living adjustment that happens there. Now, spousal benefits. So remember how I talked about my spouse, my wife. Spousal benefits with Social Security operate under the assumption that that spouse in my situation that stayed home with the kids that doesn't have much of an earnings record at all, that they contributed to the family, right? I was the lucky one that got to get out there and make money. Well, she contributed to the family. So the Social Security Administration recognizes this. And as a result of that, what they say is, here is Charlie, let's say it's $3,000 a month. And here is Noelle's benefit based off of her best 35 years of earnings. If based off her earnings record is not at least 50% of Charlie's, then what does she get? Her spousal benefit is, 50% of Charlie's, or $1,500. So that is what the spousal benefit is. Now, a couple points here, couple points on the spousal benefit. If my benefit was $3,000 a year and she's age 62 and says, yeah, I want that spousal benefit, it's reduced a lot like as if it was her own benefit, right? It can be reduced by as much as 35%, right? If she files at age 62. That's one point. Another point is it doesn't say this in here. I never put it in the slide. Here's the caveat to the spousal benefit. So I am, how old am I? I'm 44. My wife's 2 years older than me. So question for you. If she's 67, her full retirement age, and I'm 65 at the time, she's 2 years older than me, and I haven't filed for my Social Security. When she files at age 67, does she get that 50% of mine? Does she get that $1,500 at that point in time? For those of you that were listening, tell me what you think. When she files 2 years ahead of me, does she get that $1,500 spousal benefit? That's correct. No, she cannot. Because here's the caveat. The spouse, me, I have to be taking my benefit in order for her to piggyback on the spousal benefit, right? Now, once upon a time, the file and suspend strategy was there to where I could file, I could then suspend taking my full benefits, so allow my delayed retirement credits to kick in. But because I technically filed, she could get the spousal benefit. Doesn't apply anymore. In short, I need to file in order for her to get that spousal benefit. Here's a fun one. Both of my parents have been divorced several times, 4 times each. 4 times each. 8 divorce, and they would kill me if they knew I was talking about this. 8 times each, and you guys were probably like, that explains what's wrong with them. What about divorced spouses? So if my wife and I were to get divorced, could she get a benefit based off of me? She's not married. We have been married for 23 years, which is greater than 10 years. Can she get that $1,500 based off of that ex-spousal benefit? Absolutely. And here's what's different with ex-spousal benefits than spousal benefits is that the Social Security Administration has said that I do not need to file for my Social Security benefit, at least if we've been divorced for longer than 2 years. I do not have to file for my Social Security benefit in order for my ex, her, to get a spousal benefit based off me. So that's that exception to kind of the general rule there. Well, why is that? I have a belief of why that is. I tend to think it's because what would that require? If I have to file for my Social Security benefit in order for my ex-spouse, her, to get a spousal benefit, what would that require that we do? Communicate. Most ex-spouses do not want to communicate, right? All right, so that's spousal benefits. That's ex-spousal benefits. Some folks say, well, what about in the example, Charlie? 4 different marriages, right? Can you cherry pick your ex-spouse based off their highest 35 years where you get 50% of that? Yeah, you can cherry pick your spouse as well in order to get, well, the spouse that was a sugar mama or a sugar daddy, pick him or her, and your spousal benefit will be larger than, maybe the homeless guy or gal that you were married to for a while. All right, case studies here, 3 different case studies. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to distill this down into a few case studies, and these are kind of cool. Number 1 is we're going to do what happens when you file as early as possible. Number 2 is what happens when you file as late as possible. Number 3 is what happens if you file optimally. These are the case studies. So here we have Paul, age 62. No need to do the math here. 1958 plus 60. Well, Charlie, it's 2 years past 2020. I get that. Just the concept is the same. So Paul is 62. Linda is age 60. We're going to have some assumptions here. This is greatly simplified, folks. This is not my system that I use that you actually have access to if you're with CG Financial Group for literally $25 a month. It helps optimize Social Security. It helps sell long-term care. It sells annuities all day long. But this is greatly simplified relative to the software that I have because it doesn't include taxes or anything. So we're going to assume that he passes away at 86 because that's what us guys do. We die before the ladies. She's going to die at age 89. Simplified, we're not assuming inflation. So her full retirement age is what? 67, right? His full retirement age is, what is that? Is that 66 and 8 months? Yes, 66 and 8 months. So here's what we're going to do. Scenario number 1, both of them filing at age 62. Paul's primary insurance amount, basically his full retirement benefit, where everything starts, his PIA is where everything starts, is $2,400 per month. When he files at age 62, what does he get? Well, because of all those reductions we talked about, $1,730. What about her when she files at 62? 829. Well, what's going on here, folks? You got to answer this one. If you've been following, I want to see how much you've comprehended and let this stuff absorb. 829, that's only like $71 less than $900. What gives? Only $71 reduction. Why is her 829 not less than that? Because after all, her PIA is $900. Why was she only reduced $71, a small portion of her PIA relative to Paul when his was reduced by what, like 30%, 25%? What's going on over here when she files at age 62? No answers on this one, folks. What's going on here? Because it's not about hers. Because hers is 900. What is greater than 900? $1,200, right? So it's not about her benefit. It's about her spousal benefit, which is $1,200. And 829 is a significant reduction from $1,200. So that's what's going on there, spread out over their lifetime. This is $830,000. Is that the best we can do? Well, let's see. So let's take the other side of the equation. Both of them file at age 70. So here's what happens with Paul. He's gotten those delayed retirement credits for a little more than 3 years, right? So 20 some, maybe 30%, 20 some percent higher than his original PIA. That's $3,040 a month. What about Linda over here? She files at age 70 and she gets $1,200 per month. Why did she get $1,200 per month, folks? Why only $1,200 per month? Of course, that's the spousal benefit, right? But Charlie, you just said that if she filed early, that her spousal benefit is reduced, but you're telling me that if she files late, that she doesn't get delayed retirement credits on her spousal benefit? That's exactly what I'm saying. So basically, she has wasted what? Call it 3 years, technically, what, 2 years of her life. She has wasted and I'll show you where we're coming up with the 2 years. She wasted 2 years of her life by delaying, because she could have filed at age 68 and gotten, well, at age 67, gotten her benefit then. Well, we're going to get into that. But basically, she wasted, call it 3 years. And I'm going to show you why the numbers are going back and forth here. But in short, over their lifetimes, close to $1 million. So what is the optimal strategy, which I already alluded here to, that I may have overcomplicated a bit? 2,400, he waits until age 70. This is what the software, this is what the algorithm says. If he waits until age 70, he will get $3,040 per month. What about her? If she files at age 67, she gets $900 per month. Folks, what's going on here? Why does she not get that $1,200 per month? This is where some of that confusion was coming in earlier, right? Why does she not get that $1,200 per month when she files at age 67? Because that's what the spousal benefit is. What's happening there? What's happening? He didn't file yet. Absolutely. He doesn't file until she is age 68. He's 2 years older than her. That's when she gets that bump up to $1,200, a spousal addition of an additional $300. So you can see here in that previous example, like I said, she has wasted a couple years of her life in delaying to when she doesn't get brownie points by delaying when it comes to spousal benefits. Total family benefit here is $1 million, $1,003,000. That is the optimal strategy. $1,003,000 there. Now, of course, there are projections in there. If somebody can tell me exactly when they're going to die, then maybe we tweak it. But all we can do is go off projections, right? So we've given her more money. By the way, because they are delaying his Social Security benefit, they are filling the gap early between his retirement age and Social Security. And what does that do? That can reduce their required distributions later on, because they're taking that income now. So again, that's that kind of compartmentalization that I talked about versus file for Social Security, then additional income on top. Mix it all together. No, that's a potion for disaster, right? And as I already alluded to, 30 minutes ago, that potentially results in less taxation on their Social Security. Earned income test, for you fine folks, not going to go into this right now. Social Security taxation, again, $44,000 plus. What does that mean? What that means is their Social Security can be taxed upwards of 85% of that Social Security. I'm not talking about 85% tax bracket. I'm talking about 85% of that Social Security. That is based off their provisional income. So folks, as I end here, this is the call to action for the consumers. This is where it all comes together. This is where they will write on the back of their evaluation, yes, I want my Social Security optimization and retirement income plan. That is where 50% of them that attend the seminar, 50% that attended a webinar that I did a couple weeks ago, not to any warm clients or anything, to complete strangers. How did I get them? Not going to go into that. But yeah, 50% will say, I want my retirement income plan. And what it comes down to is the software. Hey, we need to know what everything looks like that generates your retirement income potion. And then we'll see, do we segment it out? Do we do the layering approach? At what year do you, sir, do you file for Social Security? At what year do you, ma'am, the couple, file for your Social Security? That's a beautiful 35-page printout. Again, if you're with CG Financial Group, you're paying like $25 a month. It's like 4 times that if you're not. But here's a case that I worked on a while back. Remember how we were talking with Greg? And I said, Greg, we ended up giving her a projected additional like $960,000, $970,000 over her life is the projection. This is what the software looks like. It shows a flow chart of what their income looks like over their lifetime, sequence of withdrawals. Where are you getting that income at age 70, at age 71, at 72? But then in the end, it says this light blue here, this is the status quo, Mr. Client. The light green, I think it's light green. I'm blue-green colorblind, but it looks green to me. This light green one in this example, this is after we optimize your Social Security. This is after we add a guaranteed lifetime income, say annuities. Say you're $700,000, maybe we put $400,000 into an annuity that gives you lifetime income. What does all of this mean? It means in this example, 33% more income. Folks, we are at 16 minutes after. We have an evaluation for you. There's an evaluation that's going to be popping up here in a bit. Please tell me, did it suck? Was it great? Was it somewhere in between? There are also some questions where you can type in responses to. That's the evaluation. If you want to get in touch with me, I'll give you my email address here. My email address directly to me is Gipple, G-I-P-P, not B, G-I-P-P as in Peter, L-E, at CG, my initials, Financial Group, LLC.com. It's along with C Gipple at CG Financial Group, LLC.com. Please fill out the evaluation here that's popping up in about 10 seconds. Really appreciate all of you joining in. I greatly appreciate it. I know that many of you are not on salary, so the fact that you're going to take 75 minutes to entrust that to me, I greatly appreciate that. Here comes the evaluation, folks.